Everybody for joining. I'm so happy to see you all here. So I think you guys were all here when I mentioned how this is going to go, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and how I got here to doing this all. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what somatic healing is, and then we're going to get into the session. So I'm a somatic healer and an awakening coach. I support clients on their quest to heal from trauma, from chronic pain, physical, emotional, spiritual, and general life difficulties, and to awaken to their life's purpose when more traditional approaches have failed. My approach, the Truth Catalyst method, is informed by a balance of psychospirituality, psychoneurobiology, holistic wellness, mindfulness, and embodiment practices. I have a master's in clinical psychology. I've been trained in somatic therapy, embodiment practices, and mindfulness techniques. I'm also a certified life purpose coach, a yoga instructor, and I've studied around the world with different masters and gurus. So in my middle 20s, my late 20s, I had healed from a lifelong, rare, debilitating autoimmune disease. Throughout my childhood and throughout high school, I was in and out of the hospital quite a bit, in a ton of pain. Doctors really weren't sure what was happening. They ended up diagnosing me with a pretty rare disease called Behçet's. And having disease was really all I had ever known. In my mid-20s, I was really, really sick. And by then I was pretty disillusioned with Western medicine because there weren't any solutions for me really that helped enough to get me out of this cycle of illness. So I sought an alternative practitioner in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I was living, where I'd grown up. And I was pretty skeptical, but working with her, within like a month, I started feeling a lot better. And within 6 months, my whole life had started to transform. Everything, my body, the way I viewed life, I changed a lot of things about it, the way I interacted with my work, my diet. And within 2 years, I was a different person. I had a completely healthy body by then. And I actually took off to travel the world. I took off with a backpack and I spent 18 months the first go around backpacking through 12 countries. And then a year later, I went and lived overseas in the Far East. And I spent a total of about 6 years living overseas. My top 3 spiritual homes ended up being Chiang Mai in Thailand, Ubud in Bali, and then Mysore in India. And now I'm just on a mission to help others heal from deeply buried wounds that tend to be like the underlying, what's underlying, whether it's physical or emotional pain. Now I was talking about living in New Mexico. I live with my husband, he and I were both in Chiang Mai at the time when we met. So we live here now, and we're both just living our purpose. So today, before I get into what somatic healing is, I want to talk a little bit about collective trauma, because anybody who's living in the world today, we're experiencing this. It's sort of become commonplace in 2020. In fact, like, we all were born into a world that is experiencing collective trauma, just with climate change. That's one example of what collective trauma is. But this global pandemic that we're living through, the coronavirus, that is, and all of the other things that it's affecting: job loss, grief, loss of loved ones, sickness, right? So even if it's not, you don't feel like it's directly impacting you, reading about it, hearing about it, knowing that it's out there, fear, worrying about having to go out and being exposed to it, things like that. Basically, it's really, really hard for your spirit and psyche to remain untouched by the reality of what's happening right now, not to mention police brutality and racism, what's happening to a lot of people right now. And so Collective trauma, this one spiritual leader that I follow who's very prolific in these areas, Thomas Hubel, says collective trauma is not an idea. It's a tremendous amount of energy that hasn't been processed, yet influences in our daily thinking and feeling and our relationships. It has created shadow structures in society that we assume are normal. And the only way to address this is to create conscious structures that will support resourcing and awareness processes. And some of the symptoms you might be experiencing, and you probably have throughout these past few months, if not beforehand, are guilt, heightened anxiety, increased individual or collective fear, vulnerability, heightened vigilance for new threats, damaged pride for our nation, cultural pride, familial pride, identity crisis, hopelessness, shame, depression, feelings of isolation, anger, or grief. And so, I don't know if you guys are feeling any of these things. I know I've felt some of these things over the past recent months. And what we're doing here today is I call it somatic journeying. And so hopefully you guys can touch base with something inside of you that will help alleviate some of this collective trauma and perhaps your own personal journey, your trauma that you may be going through. So after I tell you about the somatic journeying, what I'd like us to all do is set an intention for today's journey. So somatic healing, somatic journeying is a holistic approach to healing physical and emotional suffering, like chronic pain, chronic illness and injuries, and other physical ailments, as well as anxiety, depression, spiritual malaise. And it can also help you connect with and awaken your authentic self. I have put together 7 principles of somatic healing. So the first one is that the mind, body, and spirit and emotions are interconnected. Traumatic and emotional events change a person's psychoneurobiology. That's the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit. The body remembers feelings, sensations, and memories when it's traumatized. So it sort of holds on to the trauma. All pain, emotional and physical, is transient. It doesn't last. We feel like it might last forever, but it doesn't. The mind, body, and spirit have a boundless capacity to heal and become whole at any time. And this is, I think, really key to holding on to that truth. So you can be open to healing. Any of us can be open to healing. At its core, one's mind, body, spirit wisdom is timeless, untouched by pain, and unharmed. And somatic journeying helps us get to that core wisdom. So when this wisdom is accessed via the body, healing and transformation are possible. What I like to tell people, I like to tell everybody, my clients, during group sessions, when we haven't done this sort of practice before, it's new. You've done things like this, guided visualization, meditation. This is slightly different. So it's a little bit more nuanced. So I'm going to give you prompts. And these prompts are a way to get you to not only drop into your body, but to develop a new sort of communication and language with your body. So we're so conditioned to work from and live from our mind that the mind is very strong and likes to overpower our body. And this is a great opportunity to quiet the mind. And if your mind does want to speak up or to kind of jut in, this is a chance to say, you know what, I'm going to drop the mind right now and I'm going to trust whatever information I'm getting from my body. So the questions that I'm asking you, we're really asking to get information from our body. And it's typically very instinctual and intuitive. So your body knows a lot of things. All of the pain, whatever is happening in your body, it could be good stuff too. Your body has wisdom to share with you And that's what this process, this session today is all about. We're trying to access your body's wisdom. So we need to listen to your body as opposed to your mind. And then what I'd like to know in the chat is, do you have an intention you would like to set for today's practice? What are you here working on today? What would you like to either access or shift or change? If there's something, please share it in the chat. I'll share something as well. You can also just keep it to yourself. Cool. Brittany, connecting with my body and authentic self. Lolita, anxiety, trauma. I hope I pronounced your name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Yeah, that's really powerful. Anybody else? Scarcity mentality. Nice. Allowing vulnerability. Beautiful. Need to release from this outrage culture and collective hate. I feel that one. Yeah. So it's so pervasive and it's so intense. Keisha, I know. Yeah, tapping into more love, right? Sharing more love. Anybody else? You know, I do want to touch base on the one about allowing vulnerability. The way we are, just in terms of development, when we're younger, it's coping, and it's totally natural to shield yourself from vulnerability. And that's how we survive and how we get through the world. And so we have to relearn how to become vulnerable with partners, with family, friends, throughout the world, you know, throughout our lives. And so it's a practice we all have to do. And so that's a really important one. Neck pain. Okay. Okay. And is anybody, you know, I haven't asked this in like a group session really, because I typically just, I work intuitively and I choose a specific part of the body to work with, but it sounds like there's a neck thing going on. Is there any other particular area in somebody's body that they're really working with right now that they'd like to share? Because we'll be going into body parts. Okay. Digestion, back. Thank you guys. Okay. Beautiful. Well, what I'd like you to do now is find a comfortable seat. You can be sitting on a chair, on the ground. You can lay down on the ground if you want. And for the rest of this session, we're going to close our eyes. So you can keep your video on or turn it off. It's totally up to you. Wherever you're seated, with your eyes closed, we're going to start by taking a few deep breaths. So as you breathe in through your nose, expanding your chest, expanding your belly. And as you exhale, open your mouth. Take another deep breath in. And exhale. And one more, inhale. And exhale. At first, just notice where your hands are resting on the chair or on your legs, and feel the sensation. Get super micro about your sensations. How does it feel when where your hands are touching the chair or your legs? This is just the beginning of getting into your body. And then where your legs are touching the chair or the ground, notice what that feels like. And if you feel yourself tensing anywhere or holding yourself up, see if you can drop into the ground. So drop into your chair, let go of any holding, drop into the ground. There's no need to hold on right now. The only thing I want you to hold on to is call your intention back and bring it into your heart space. And imagine, whether it's in words or in a vision, in a picture, or in a color, that intention just gathering in your heart space. So what does it, if you had to create an image of your intention, what does it look like? Yeah. I am going to just think about all of your intentions and hold them in my heart space for this entirety of this session. Now just let it go. It's in you. For this first, we're going to do a couple of different exercises. But the first one is just going to get you used to moving through your body and observing your body. So what I want you to do is, without any specific destination in mind, imagine with your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, roaming your body, scanning your body. Not necessarily even from head to toe, but kind of just scan it randomly and notice if there's anything in particular that stands out for you. Like, do you get a twinge? Do you feel some vibrating? Do you feel pain somewhere? And if you notice something that stands out to you, rest your attention in that place. And if you don't notice anything standing out to you, simply bring your attention to your heart. Find something, if you do notice something, kind of like, when I say rest your attention there, kind of like imagine you're looking at that place from inside. At this point, we're simply breathing normal, not really controlling the breath. And in that place, what are you sensing? What does it feel like to you? Notice like the quality of the energy in that place. And perhaps you're not getting too much information, but see what you can get. And as you're observing that place, does your mind drift away? Are you having some thoughts? And notice that too. It's okay if you're having some thoughts or some judgments. See if you can bring your mind back to that place. Are you getting bored already? Maybe. Bring your attention back. If there's energy happening, if there's tingling, if there's pain, what kind of pain is it? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it pulling? We're not going to do anything with it. We're simply observing it. Okay. Now, I want you to bring your attention, everybody, bring your attention to your back. So for you, you can focus on your lower back or your upper back, wherever you tend to carry the more stress and more pain. Maybe it's even up in your shoulders. When I say focus your attention, it's similar. Like imagine you're looking at that place from inside. Also, if you switch to this place in your back, did you tense your muscles? What happened when you switched your attention? Why don't you see if you can release and meld your muscles down your back? Kind of let go of that place, except just keeping your internal attention there. And now I'm going to ask you some questions about that space. And as I ask these questions, if you don't get any answers, if you're feeling frustrated, that's okay. Just notice that too. Because again, this is always a newer practice if you haven't done it before. So also go with your intuition rather than your mind. So in the place in your back that you're focusing on, if it were a color, what color is it? What color would it be? And if it were a time of day, can you tell what time of day it is in that space? And can you sense anything else in there yet? Like, are you noticing an image or a sensation in there? Has anything else come to you in that place? Again, if your mind's trying to answer, that's not what we're looking for right now. We want your body to give us some information. What's the temperature in that space? Can you sense it? Go a little deeper. Can you see anything in there? Or are you feeling energy in there now? Are you able to see any sort of image, like either an object or a landscape maybe? And if you're able to see an object or a landscape, what's happening? What's happening with that object? Is it still? Is it moving? If you see a landscape, what does it look like? Again, what time of day is it in there? Are you in the landscape? Or are you looking at this landscape from outside? And is anybody else in there? Go a little deeper. What does this place want from you? You can ask it silently. So whatever is opening up for you or not opening up for you, you can ask that space, what do you want? What do you need from me? And see what answer you get, if you get an answer. So I'm going to help you flush this and heal this space. What I want you to imagine is that you're taking a pitcher full of white light liquid. It's filled with healing energy. It's filled with love. You pour it into your heart. You kind of lift it and pour it directly into your heart. And it starts filling up your heart. And then it pours all the way back into your chest and fills up your back. And it even like pours out of you. This liquid is just filling you up with a lot of healing energy and a lot of love. And it pools through your back, over your shoulders, kind of even covers you like an armor of love. You keep filling yourself up with this light. If it makes more sense to you, you can pour it through the crown of your head. You just want to make sure you're getting this liquid all the way through your back, that space inside of you that you just opened up. And keep opening and filling that space up with this liquid. It's filled with love. And let it run all over the outside of your body. You can visualize it in such a way that it's emanating out of you, like you're glowing with this light. And as you do this, call your intention back into your heart. Keep pouring the liquid through you. And let your intention wash away with the liquid, sending it out into the universe. Beautiful. From here, I'd like to move into the stomach. We're gonna do one more area and see how we go with it. So kind of release the image of the white liquid in your back. And now I want you to imagine your stomach area, your intestines. And we're going to do the same work, because I don't know how far we got with each of you guys or how well we did. Sometimes other spaces are more open for other people. So since we have time, I'd like to do this area. So imagine bringing your third eye, like internal vision, into your intestines, into your gut. Let's start out very broad. So what do you see or sense there? Are you able to sense anything like a feeling at first? What can you feel? As you start to feel into that space, are you able to drop into it further, like get any more information from there? Do you see anything, or is it giving you any other information, like a color? What color is it in there? And then what time of day is in your stomach? No, we don't need to hear from the mind. We just want to hear from your stomach. What time of day and what color do you sense? And sometimes it's like a really far away sense because we're so not always connected to these parts of us, or it's just buried, right? If you go into that temperature and that color and you're really stepping into that place, if you put yourself in there, do you see anything else? Do you see a landscape at all? Or a scene? And what's happening in the scene? And if you get something for a split second and it drifts away, see if you can pull that back to you. Sometimes the stuff is buried so deeply in our subconscious that it's just really tricky to pull it back or to keep it for any length of time. Are you looking at this scene or this object, or are you in it? And if so, like either way, what's happening in there? Now I'd like to ask the question, have you asked the question of your stomach? What do you need from me? What can I give to you in this moment? And if you have another question you want to ask this space, you can do so right now. This is a great place for intuition. So if you're trying to make a decision about something in your life, you can ask an intuitive question. I'm trying to figure this out. What's my answer? This time, I'd like us to imagine we're pouring a golden light golden liquid into our bellies. And it's sort of, you can pour it through the crown of your head. So it's covering, it's kind of filling up with the white liquid and it's mixing, but just to fill up our stomachs with this golden liquid. And it's filled with a lot of wise wit power, like a lot of wisdom, because our gut is just like this center of intuition. Fill it up with a lot more power and intuitive power, wisdom. Just keep pouring that golden liquid through your crown, through your face, down your throat, through your heart, and down into your stomach. It can even go further. It can go down through your legs, out your feet, so you're connected to the earth with this wisdom. And then when you move about your day, the rest of the day, this weekend and beyond, you're just connected from higher self all the way into the earth. It's almost like you have a golden rod of light shooting out the crown of your head, shooting into the earth. And you can use this imagery anytime you want to reconnect and align your mind, body, and spirit. And take a few more moments here. And if there are any last things you want to do while you're here and connected with your body and your higher self, go ahead. If there's any other questions you want to ask your body, now's a great time. In about a minute, we're going to start to slowly come back. And when you're ready, begin to take a few deep breaths. Make some small micro movements. And go slow, move slow, and slowly bring yourself back. So when you're back and your eyes are open, I'd love to hear how that went for you and what happened. Did anybody get some information from their body? You're welcome, Jamie. Yeah. Thank you, Keisha. Appreciate that. Okay, beautiful. You're so welcome. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Liquid was nice and a new experience. Cool. So I use that for group sessions. When I do one-on-one sessions, you're talking to me, and so I know what's happening, and we go a lot deeper. So often people walk into these spaces in their body. Beautiful. Well, people walk into their spaces in their body and they uncover pieces of their childhood. They see scenes from when they were really young, or they see people from their lives, and then we work on healing those things in the session. So it's a pretty it's a much more personal and a very different experience than this. Why the time of day matters. So the reason these questions are asked is because it helps you embody. It gets you into your body, and it gives you clues to talk to your body and get into the information that your body's holding. So all of those questions are prompts to let you step into memories you're holding on your subconscious, in your subconscious, in your body. Yeah, that's a good question. And then, of course, there are other questions I can ask when in one-on-one sessions. Yeah. So yeah, I took you guys a little bit further today than I have with other groups, and that was pretty cool. Did anybody get like some answers when you asked your body, what do you want from me? You don't have to share what the answer was, but I'm just curious if you were able to get any information. All right, cool. Well, check me out on WellSet. I'm offering sessions, and yeah, I'd love to see you guys there. I'll be hosting more of these in the upcoming future. So yeah, thank you for joining.